I'm looking for my family.
Welcome back to another episode of The Check-In, where it's been a very interesting week in film and TV. We're going to be talking about a couple of things that just happen to coincide this week. They don't necessarily have to do with each other, but we just thought that they might sort of go hand in hand because we have interesting opinions on them. We saw Bohemian Rhapsody this week. Nutcracker and The Four Realms opened this week, and we saw that as well. And most importantly, to us at least, we saw Rick Grimes' final episode in The Walking Dead. And we're gonna talk about them in that order, starting with Bohemian Rhapsody. I think that you should go first.
Oh, me? Okay. You think what? No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so surprisingly, I think most of the online critics are wrong. I genuinely love this movie. It's not a great movie. It's not a perfect movie, but since we are both Queen fans, Freddie Mercury and how they portray him is excellent. Raz Malik does a fantastic job, and I think that the movie was supposed to be very unconstructed or bad editing or messy, choppy, but it just wasn't. It surprised me on every level with the drama, with the music, and it was, yes, to the point, but I liked it overall.
I agree. I think that it's a movie that's weird because it tells the whole story of Queen. And just an FYI, not that there's many spoilers in this movie, but we're going to get to spoilers later on. So, spoiler disclaimer now.
He dies.
That's why I said it doesn't really matter for this, unless you don't know unless you are unaware of that. But the whole idea of spanning Queen's entire career is really interesting because that's what makes these films kind of difficult to pace. Is when you have pretty much there's only 5 minutes of film where Queen is not formed. It's not about the process of forming. It's not like an origin story. It is them when they are becoming Queen and all of their years of becoming Queen,
leading up to the AIDS concert,
yeah. Which is his last, or the Live Aid, not the AIDS. He has AIDS. The helping Africa, which is called Live Aid, providing aid to Africa concert, which was really
1985,
emotional.
I think.
Yeah, and I think another thing is that if you're a Queen fan, you're really gonna like this film because the way they show their career in sort of large, a lot of fast-paced scenes and some of the slower scenes. Like it's the best way I can describe it is a rhapsody in and of itself, and that's kind of what is the appeal. And it's probably why that a lot of critics might be, not so keen on it is because of the fact that it's not like traditionally paced, traditionally this, traditionally that, but it doesn't need to be traditional in order to.
No, exactly.
It doesn't need to be traditional in order to be good because Queen was Queen was not traditional in any sense of that word.
Also, for negatives, I would say that there's excellent imagery. However, the movie is over 2 hours plus 2 hours long, and that's kind of a detriment when you're kind of feeling there's weird pacing going on. It's like, oh, the happy side of Freddy, and even though he's a nice guy, he's being screwed over, and you're kind of, it's not dragging, but you're kind of like, okay, it's kind of going through the motions a little bit. But no, if you're going to see it in IMAX with the excellent sound, best music overall, I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, pivoting in the completely opposite direction, Nutcracker and the Four Realms, which was not a good film, but is anyone really surprised?
You go first on this.
So the film made me laugh once. And it's more than I could say for a lot of other films this year that have been, technically bad, but it's mercifully short. Like, the climax is finished an hour and 20 minutes, and if you exclude the credits, the film is only an hour and 27 minutes. So that was sort of a plus, but in that, it just, all of the things that happen in the film just don't really connect to one another. They try to set up this plot where the family just lost the mother of the family, and Clara's father is really upset, and, everyone is trying to process the grief in their own way. And Clara is someone who's kind of bottling it up. She's like, she feels that it's unfair. She doesn't want to celebrate Christmas and just put on a face and just do all the traditions because her mother's not there. And she's a tinkerer. So when she goes into the realm that her mother apparently created, she kind of tries to put those skills to the test. But it's so oddly paced because the whole message is how you process grief, and the antagonist is meant to be a parallel. And again, we're going into spoilers here. There's a big twist that I predicted immediately, which was that Keira Knightley's character Sugar Plum is actually one of the bad guys, and Mother Ginger and her mice are misunderstood, but they never explain how that happened. Why did Mother Ginger get banned if there are the other two guys who are head of the other realms didn't know about Sugar Plum's plan? How did that happen? Why does it have to work into the grief? Because they didn't know that the mother was dead, but by the end of the film, you sort of have Sugar Plum try to destroy everything because she misses the mother, and that's the message that Clara doesn't want to... You don't want Clara to turn into Sugar Plum, which doesn't really make any sense because, like, the whole thing doesn't make a lot of sense. And again, if you're going to it for the music, for the Nutcracker, for the ballet, there's one part where they pretty much just sit down and watch the ballet. Which
I was about to say, the best
part of the movie
is watching them watch the ballet.
It's not ingrained in any way, so if you're a fan of the Nutcracker and that's why you'd be going to see this, don't go. But it's not as bad as I've been making it out to be, because it's so short and because it's actually kind of laughably bad. You know, I can give it some liberties in terms of it's not one of the worst films that I've seen this year, but it's certainly one that is a niche for like 6 to 10-year-old girls.
No, I pretty much agree. It's not as painful as I thought it was going to be. It has interesting enough design. I just don't like the style. The story is incredibly weak. The acting isn't even bad. But, like you said, it's just a clunky movie. It's not even, like, messy or choppy. It's just plain weird. Like you said, the best sequence is watching them watch the ballet, which is interesting. But then, like, Keira Knightley overstates her welcome and narrates over visual storytelling, which is not a good sign. But no, it was just like, it was very short. I don't really think that it was as, messy or as incoherent as Wrinkle in Time. Like, I would rather watch this if I were to ever watch it again. We both saw it in 3D. Definitely not worth it. But it's just not really that good of an experience. Maybe your kids might enjoy it during the holiday season, but for us, males that are over 20, I don't think that you should definitely not go see this. Just pretty bad.
All right, so now moving into what we're most excited to talk about, which is Rick Grimes' final episode in The Walking Dead.
Let's begin by saying he's alive. However, he died too.
Okay, to clarify that, I mean, we've said it throughout, but spoilers. I wish I got a chance to say that before you had blurted that out. But let's go through...
Yeah.
Let's just go through the episode, because the main theme of this episode was about... It was pretty much the same exact theme of the pilot, just after all this time, which was, I need to find my family. The entire time, Rick's side of the story in this episode is based on the delirium that he's experiencing because of, if you saw the last episode, him getting stabbed through the side.
Well, they teased us by him getting, like you said, stabbed, and he can't get out of that pole, and the walkers are surrounding him. Like, of course he's not going to die there. However, he doesn't come in contact with anyone except his illusions or the imagery that they're intending, for him to go through. The way they pace it and the characters that they introduce and sort of they're sort of trying to guide him, not necessarily to the afterlife as if it's some, heavenly host that is talking to him. It is his own delirium. It's an internal struggle. But it's an internal struggle that he's been struggling with, because from the pilot, he's been trying to find his family. And the entire time in this episode, he's trying to find his way back. But just because he's trying to find his way back doesn't mean he's necessarily trying to find his family. Because the thing about finding his family is that the significance lies in, I'm trying to build a new world and do what I'm trying to do, and there's all this conflict, and if I'm not there, it's all going to fall apart. Well, the overall tone is survival. He talks to himself in the beginning, wakes himself up, and the more people he meets, they tell him to wake up too. He meets who does he meet first?
Shane,
Herschel, and Sasha.
And they each tell him something important.
They do,
that he
yes.
needs to know.
But there's also other subplots going on, which are very important when Maggie finally gets to Negan, and it's one of the most important scenes. While Rick is still, maintaining his, not insanity, but his own collection of thoughts, Maggie's scene with Negan. I'm glad Michonne had a scene with Negan, but she decided not to kill him because he's not the Negan that she saw before. He's a different Negan, and she said, "I can't kill you because you're not Negan."
One who's begging to be killed, to be brought back. Like the thing that he's begging for, she's not going to do that. Like if he's begging for death, she's not gonna kill him.
Everything went according to her plan. Michonne, let her pass. Negan said, "Come in." And yet, it didn't go her way.
Yeah,
and I love that.
Still didn't wind up succeeding, which ties into Rick's story a lot because of the fact that even though it was Negan who changed her mind and not Rick, his way of thinking and the thing that he thinks is not going to happen, the thing that he thinks, the events he thinks would fail.
Oh, it
had
especially
it not been for
fits
him,
with the ending.
He is.
You want to just go to the ending, because that's the most important part.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, I think. Okay, I think that the thing about the ending was that the reason why it's so important is because of the build-up throughout of Rick not necessarily thinking that without him, like, he's not done doing his part, when he's done more than enough. Not that he couldn't do more, but if this was the end, it should be fine. And it's all symbolized by the bridge, because the two most important things that happen when he gets back to the bridge, like he gets back to where his family is.
The camp and the bridge,
he finds his family. The bridge that everyone is telling him, everyone's been telling him this entire season, your way is not going to work, the bridge is going to fall. So he leads the herd of walkers that is following him onto the bridge. The bridge holds. That is so important because that reaffirms that he's done the right thing. He ends his life, more or less, to a point with success. And when he does blow up the bridge and with it himself
before
to save everybody.
Everyone sees him and they're going behind the herd to attack, and he's basically saying, you attacking is going to get yourself killed because of me. So, yeah, like you said, he blows up the bridge, and you think at first he's dead as well, and everyone saw that reaction.
Yeah. Well, also, really quickly, backtracking, when he does blow up the bridge, the reason why it's so important is because of the fact that it's not about the bridge. The bridge holding symbolizes... Well, the bridge holding symbolizes his entire struggle to make a civilization. The blowing up of the bridge was a plot element to save everybody. Like, that's why it's such an interesting juxtaposition, because of the fact that the bridge both holds and gets destroyed. And the fact that it means two separate things in the episode is why that motif is so powerful.
Oh, absolutely.
And especially because you do think that he dies. But then
everything was perfect, fitting with the music, the way Michonne reacted, the way Rick delivered his last lines, and Darryl walking away, cutting to black. And, for what we think is going to be the ending, it's just perfect. However, can I go to the very last scene? My reaction when...
The helicopter scene.
The helicopter.
Yeah.
When Anne saw the helicopter, and then she looks back and she sees Rick alive getting out of that river, I was a bit shocked because we all thought he was going to die. Mm-hmm. And while thinking about it and seeing what they're talking about on the Talking Dead, I like it. No, wait, I love it because of what the future is going to hold for Rick Grimes. This is his last episode on the show. However, they stated that they're going to make Walking Dead movies or TV movies with Rick Grimes beginning the trilogy, which I think is brilliant. Coming after this season. We'll see if it's this summer or like in October, November. But I really, really liked it.
It seems like the best of both worlds because you both kind of get to continue to have him on the show, and Andrew Lincoln doesn't have to spend 9 months in Atlanta filming a TV show. All he's going to do is 2 months for every film. That's 6 months over the course of years. So it's much easier for him. But I think it's the biggest thing that this show has done, which is what amazes me, because I predicted it semi-jokingly, would they do this?
It's a bit jarring, but...
The fact that the big question, the big discussion topic after this is Rick lived versus... Like, the fact... It's so funny that the spoilers are usually this character dies. It's amazing that this spoiler is that Rick lives. It's a great turnaround that I actually liked when I watched it, and I'm getting a little more and more like just not skeptical. Well, yes, skeptical, but only because this was such a great ending, not just to his arc on the show, but if he had died, it would have been such a great moment anyway.
But he did die. Everyone thinks he died.
Yes, but he didn't. And that's the thing, is that even if we were to think he died, and then you reveal in the movie that this happened, we know by the end of this episode, after an hour of watching, that he's not dead. And not that I don't think they're going to do something good with him, and that I do want to see more of his story. It's just very jarring, and it's going to take a lot to see where it goes for him. But one thing that I'm happy about is that that's not only way far in the future, it's part of the movies that they're going to eventually add, and it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the show, which the show, I'm looking forward to the future.
Well, before talking about the future, I kind of see it as the Infinity War effect. Like, he died, people think he died, they saw him die. However, they could still be alive. He is still alive, but we don't know in what circumstance. We don't know who the helicopter people are. However, yes, the future. This last scene, it skips ahead 6 years.
We don't know that until The Talking Dead.
And we see a new group, and we're like, what's going on? The last character, the last shot is Judith Grimes picking up the hat, having a Michonne-like sword, and saying, "I'm saving you, bring them back to Alexandria." And the teaser for next week, her saying, "It was my decision." And I love that. That's incredible.
Yeah, I think that the way they shot it as well, it doesn't matter that you knew. Like, I knew exactly what was going on and who she was when you see, like, some little girl.
Nice shot.
Dressed up in this plaid shirt, I believe, like the boots, a little sword around her back, and a humongous gun that hardly even fits in her own hand. And how they do it, where she saves this random group of people, you just see, like, perfectly timed shots as well. Like, you don't see
in the
where
distance.
she is. You just see the walkers go down perfectly. Not one shot misses you. Like, for every single gunshot sound you hear, a walker goes down. It is accurate, and when they introduce their names, the last line of the episode is "I'm Judith," but more importantly, she clarifies and says Judith Grimes, which I think is really important, because that is what we're going to looking forward to. Everyone can debate about Rick all they want, how it happened. Personally, even, like, if people want to argue about where he's going to go, fine. Take out the Jadis scene. I still think it was a perfect episode. If Daryl walked into the blackness and it cut to 6 years later, I still would think the episode was good. So if that's the only point of contention, let people argue it. It's not going to affect the show for right now, and I think that how they do it in the future is going to be, like, the characters that they're going to... the fact that they've introduced 6 new characters, they're going to get back to developing, hopefully, some of the side characters like Rosita and Jesus
Tara.
and Aaron and, what did I say, Tara, Rosita. I'm really interested in seeing where it's going to go, and this is not even the halfway point, and we're already having such
Rick
big
Grimes
chunks of the
ended
show.
the beginning of the season, and technically, this timeline, it's already done with. We're jumping ahead. We don't know if it's going to cut back to, like, this present time, but the future in 6 years, everyone's going to react.
Yeah, Rick will have been doing his own thing,
Yeah.
which is, like Morgan in Fear the Walking Dead. So at that point, that's a good point, because that's the one thing about, like, maybe don't worry about Rick for right now, because there's nothing we can do.
Whatever
We can't
happened
worry
with the
about
ocean
him,
and with
Oceanside,
Oceanside, the Saviors, Carol. That little set piece we probably won't ever see, because it's going to be, a kind of a blimp in the
things
future.
May have been solved, and now that there's going to be more conditions with the walkers, we don't exactly know where it's going to go. But definitely recommended television.
Oh, yeah. We'll see how the mid-season finale is, but this felt like a conclusion to everything, but not like, oh, it's done. We're like, oh, I can't wait to see what else is going to happen. But yeah, we both loved it.
Yeah.
Let's go into our grades and ratings.
Right.
Bohemian Rhapsody, I would say full price. Definitely not a perfect movie. I don't think it might not even get nominated for Best Picture. However, I do think the sound, the acting, everything fit, and it was pretty smart in its own creation or project.
Yeah, I B+ full price, I think.
Yeah, A-
for that. And I think we agree that Nutcracker was sort of in C- territory.
Yeah, for
but
me.
it's very niche, so a certain type of audience would like this, and it did make me laugh once, and there were elements of it that was good, including the visuals and the music, so I think that I think a red box is very fair to a movie that otherwise
I didn't hate it.
Trash. Yeah, and then, not even using our grades, just A+ this week for The Walking Dead. It's a show that continues to
be on the radar. For one episode, yeah.
For the single episode, yeah.
But we also didn't talk about the other episodes in short. I think episode 2, I think episode 4 was a bit clunky too because Maggie didn't get to Alexandria yet. But it built up everything. 3 was pretty good with Oceanside, that little thing at the end. But this season overall has been really promising in its characters and its faithful, in its true nature to the characters. And I think that it's really just good tension, good dialogue, and just really good compact series.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, thank you for listening. And if you want to, before you go check in with other films, check in with us. Bye.
There's only room in this band for one hysterical queen.
Mother Ginger wants to rule the realms.
It feels like it's ending.